Hey, everybody.
Wait a minute. So, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Jeff Gibby. We had a little
Okay.
discussion previous to the broadcast. I can't do this with my headset on because I can hear my own voice. We had a discussion previous to the broadcast as to whether I should introduce him or not, or whether he should just introduce himself. And as I always say, you should never have to introduce yourself because that's no fun. Anyway, Jeff Gibby is an awesome person. He has been with the company for a really, really long time, 20 some odd years. He's the director of our sales division, and as well as our business development division, 24 years, he's telling me. And he has a lovely family, a great big dog, and what's something I'm not thinking of, Jeff?
I think you covered the main thing with the dog.
All right. All right. Well, with no further ado, here's one Jeff Gibby.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that. That's great. For those of you that were coming in here expecting Robert couldn't do the session today, so I'm gonna fill in for him. Let's go ahead and get started. Today we're going to talk a lot about the power tools that are available. Oh, I promised to take this thing off so I didn't have to have it weighing down my head. Today we're going to talk a lot about the power tools that are available in MetaStock. Kind of talk a little bit about how they work, how technical analysis can help with what you're doing in trading, and all that kind of stuff. So this is hopefully helpful for you. In any case, the first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to read a legal disclaimer. So today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So it's good to see everybody here. Mike, I remember I think we talked right after I started, like 24 years ago or something. But I do remember talking to you a lot in those early days, back when I was in Inside Sales. So Scott, welcome. Neil, good to see you. If you guys have some symbols you want to look at, we can look at whatever symbols today that we want to. If you're not familiar with MetaStock, if you're new here, I want to say welcome. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It helps out quite a bit. We do appreciate that. There's some basic facts here about MetaStock that you can read because I'm not going to, but I basically started here back in about 1997. At that time, we had been owned by Reuters for a couple of years at that point. The things that I will say about MetaStock is I started my career in inside sales. I then did business development. I'm kind of in charge of the sales team now. The one thing, there's a couple things I'd say about the company. One, it's a great company to work for. We absolutely get along. Everybody here works hard, but we all enjoy each other, and it's a fairly drama-free way to kind of work and earn a living. Two, it's a company that I've been proud to represent and talk about. It's something that I use in my own trading. I had my most successful year of trading ever last year. I hope you guys did too. But it's just a software that's very, very much built to help you find the right trade at the right time. And the other thing that I'll tell you about MetaStock before we kind of dive into it is for this year again, 27 years in a row, MetaStock has been rated the #1 software program in its price category by the readers of Stocks and Commodities magazine. So it's a great magazine. I love it. I actually have a copy right here. Greg put a copy in here, I think, last week when he was doing his webinar. It's actually mine, though. He stole my copy. It actually has my name on it, Greg. But it's a great magazine. Every year, the readers of the magazine vote for their favorite software, and they for our price category, that'd be the $200 to the $500 price category. It's won every single year. So there you go. I'm going to talk about today, again, what we want to talk about, or what we kind of said we would talk about, is kind of the power tools of MetaStock. And really, when it comes down to MetaStock, the idea behind MetaStock is to help you identify good trading strategies, understand them, and test them. And so we're going to kind of walk through the power tools. The tools that I'm really going to focus today on are, and there's a lot in MetaStock, but we're going to talk a lot about the expert advisor, how it kind of works to help you identify the correct trades at the correct time. We're going to talk a lot about the system tester and how it works, and then also the explorer. So the way I kind of like to talk about the power tools is kind of, I like to kind of teach a little bit about what a trading methodology is. I realize a lot of you have been here for a really long time. Mike, Scott, I'm looking at you guys. But I realize for some of you, maybe you're brand new to technical analysis, you're not familiar with it. Or maybe maybe you've heard of like this MACD thing and you're not really sure what it is. But one of the things I like to kind of talk about is really how simple a trading strategy can be, and then talk about really kind of the benefits of using a trading strategy and kind of how to test them and how to find trading opportunities, all that kind of stuff. So that's really what we're going to cover today. And the first thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is the turtle traders. So if you're not familiar with the turtle traders, Richard Dennis and Bill Eckhart, if I'm remembering that name right, were the original turtle traders. They were very famous traders back in 1973. They had a bit of a disagreement. Richard believed you could teach anybody how to trade, and Bill Eckhart disagreed, and so they had a gentleman's disagreement, and they, of course, decided to do a bet around it, and they made it into a pretty big experiment. They basically put together a group of traders. There's a really good article that you can go on. If you just do a search for Richard Dennis on Wikipedia, you can kind of read the whole story. But they basically put together a group of people that they trained to trade over the course of a couple weeks. And what they found is these guys weren't successful at all. They were incredibly successful. In fact, I don't remember the exact kind of percentage gain that they had, but it was, I believe, well over 100% for 5 years. Don't quote me on that. Go look at the Wikipedia article. But one of the things Richard said is, I could always say that you could publish the rules that we use in a newspaper and nobody would follow them. The key to trading is consistency and discipline. So what we're going to be talking a lot about today is rules. We're going to talk about how to kind of like how rules work, how different trading strategies works. But one of the things that I want you to remember as you're trading is to be disciplined about it. One of the things that I often ask people when they're actually trading, or when I'm back in the before times, before the pandemic, when we'd go out and we'd talk to people about their trading in person. It seems like such a foreign concept 1 year into coronavirus, right? But one of the things that we'd ask people is like, what do you think is the most successful trading profession? And a lot of people would guess psychologists and engineers and things along those lines. And the actual answer that we were looking for is airline pilot. And I think the reason that airline pilots generally tend to be very, very successful in a trading career is because they're very disciplined. They have kind of plans and they use them and they kind of implement them. So, but that's about all we're going to really kind of discuss about discipline. Really what we're going to talk mostly about is, trading plans, how indicators work. I generally kind of like to talk a lot about MACD. And the reason, this will be a little bit of an interesting disclosure, the reason I like to talk about MACD is because it's at the time that I kind of started getting this class ready, MACD was the most popular topic on our YouTube channel. So that's actually why I use MACD as an example, because one of the things that I've found is a lot of people understand or will use MACD, but not a lot of people understand how it's calculated, how it's used, and that kind of stuff. So we're going to basically, the first thing I'm going to talk about is how a MACD works. And I want you to understand the trading, there's tons and tons of indicators and things that are available out there, but generally they're looking at different things, and they're generally the ones that I pretty much like the best are the ones that are very, very easy to understand. They're easy to comprehend. So the MACD itself is a trend, and it's a momentum indicator. It looks to measure whether you're in a bullish or a bearish area. And you can also use it to kind of measure the momentum in a stock. And this is the inventor of the MACD. His name is Gerald Appel. And I'm going to basically, that's the extent of the PowerPoint. The rest of what we're going to do today is going to be in the MetaStock platform. So I'll come back to kind of talk about like an extended trial offer that we're going to do. And I think what I'm going to do is actually, we will go in here. Ravi says, I think he's saying that Gerard Appel also made the RSA, and I believe that is correct. So good point. Let's go ahead, and what I want to do is just play a little bit with the software. I want to kind of show you how you as a trader can kind of understand, without me telling you and kind of spoon feeding you, how these different indicators work and how you can use them to get trading signals out of them. So since we're talking about the MACD, I've actually already opened a stock of Walt Disney. I do own some Walt Disney. I really love the Walt Disney Company. And I wouldn't say that I'm trading Disney. Disney is a stock that I own because I really like Disney, particularly like what they're doing with them. Anyway, we'll get out of that. With MetaStock, if you're new to MetaStock, what I would want to kind of tell you a little bit about is as we kind of make design decisions around MetaStock, one of the things that has been around as part of the company culture since the beginning is making things very easy to use. In fact, Steve Akalis, the guy that started the company, would always talk about tools that he wanted to add. But one of the things that he said is, we don't want to add tools that are complicated. If we can't make them easy to use, we don't want to add them at all. What we want to do is be able to have things that are very, very approachable to things. Another thing that he would always talk about is, the people that use MetaStock, they want to be able to focus on what they're doing. They don't want to be able to focus on how do I add an indicator again? How do I change things? And so what we've always done as a design kind of philosophy, there's the word I'm looking for. A design philosophy is to kind of keep things as much like Windows as we can, and to keep things very, very easy to use. So one of the examples is anytime that I want to change something on the chart, I can just double click on that. So like if I double click on the bars right here, I can change this. I can change this to a candlestick, a candle volume, equivolume, any of the line studies just by double clicking on it. So I'm going to go ahead and change this into candlesticks. I'll leave it black for up and black for down. That includes indicators. Volume's considered an indicator. So if I want to change the color of volume, again, just double click on it. You can come in here. You can make it black. I'm going to go ahead and make it black because I like it better than blue. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add the MACD indicator to this. So right here, we've got Walt Disney open. We've got the candlestick chart. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up what we call our our indicator quick list. So right here, there's several hundred indicators that are available in MetaStock. This is all a scrollable list. You can find anything that you want. And one of the things that is actually one of my favorite new features that they had is all of the indicators you used most recently are going to be right at the top. So you can see that I've used MACD and I've used moving average. This is the demo computer. Any indicators that are actually being used or that I use on a frequently basis, it's going to keep the most recent 20 used right here at the top. So I find that really, really helpful because I don't use more than 20 indicators. And so it allows me to kind of just grab and drag and drop. And we just added that only a couple of versions ago. Anyway, let's start with the MACD. Okay, I can go ahead and drop that on the chart. Okay, and we'll do it right here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make the color of the MACD blue just to add a little bit of color, and we'll keep the signal line as red. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK here, and now we have the MACD value. Okay, now what I want to do is kind of explain the way that the MACD works, but I also want to show you how, if you're just using MACD for the first time, you can learn a lot more about it just using MetaStock. So if I was to right-click on this MACD and go to Help, it's going to open up a help file that's going to tell us about the MACD, kind of how it's calculated and how it's interpreted. You can see right here the moving average, the MACD indicator is calculating by subtracting the value of a 0.075 or a 26-period exponential moving average from a 0.15 exponential moving average, and then displaying a 9-day exponential moving average. So right here you have this. And one of the all of the indicators that are actually included in MetaStock are included with this. One of the things that I actually keep at my desk still is one of our printed manuals, which unfortunately we don't print them anymore, but it's like the amount of information in the MetaStock help files, it's about a 600-page book. So there's a lot of information that you can go in here. In fact, like if we wanted to kind of drill a little bit different here down into this, we could click on interpretation. It's going to give us a different way to interpret it. You can look at parameters, you can look at tips, all kinds of different information here. But I'm just going to leave this as the MACD, and then we'll go ahead and kind of talk through what I just read to you. So I'm going to add a couple of moving averages here. I'm going to add a 26-period exponential moving average, and then I'm going to add another 12-period exponential moving average. I'm going to make them a little bit thicker, so I'm going to make this one blue. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker so you can see it in the on the YouTube video, and we'll go ahead and do this. Okay, and we'll go ahead and make this one a little bit thicker as well. Okay, all right, there we go. Perfect. So now, right now I'm going to talk about just the two lines that exist here. There's a histogram line. I'm going to show you how to add that in MetaStock in just a second. I'm going to show you exactly what that does as well. But let's kind of just take it one step at a time right now. If I was to look at the chart of Disney, and if I took the shorter term moving average and I subtracted it from the longer term moving average, so if I took the blue line, subtracted it from the red line, it's going to give me this blue value. That's it. If I'm looking at MACD, it's basically what you're looking at is you're looking at the difference between a longer term and a shorter term moving average. That's it. Okay. The signal line, which is this red dotted line, which I think I will make that a little bit thicker for you too. This red dotted, actually, let's make them both thicker too while we're at it. This dotted red line, it's dotted, but it's thick, so the dots all went away. But this dotted line is just a simple 9-period exponential moving average of the difference. So when you're looking at a MACD, you're just looking at the difference between a shorter period moving average and a longer period moving average. That's it. Okay. If you're in an uptrend, Disney had a tremendous move to the upside this year. If you're in an uptrend, your shorter term moving average is going to be above your longer term moving average, and so it's going to give you a positive MACD value up here. If you're in a downtrend, which I had to scroll back a little bit, but if you're kind of going sideways or down, what's going to happen is your shorter term moving average is going to be down below your longer term moving average, and you're going to get a negative MACD value. It's that simple. Okay. You can tell how fast, in this case, Disney is rising, because if you have a huge value, if this MACD is spiking a lot, you've got a lot of momentum, and the difference, and that's how it's a momentum indicator, the difference is going to be visible here as well. Okay, and that's that simple. This 9-period exponential moving average is called the signal line. It's the red line on the chart. And the way that this is read with the MACD is if you're down below your signal line, you're going to say that the MACD is in a bearish zone. And you can actually use that as a way to trade as well. Now, some of you have probably seen what's called a MACD histogram, which is a three-line version of this. You have this line and another histogram. I'm going to go ahead and add that histogram now. If you own MetaStock, it's called the PS histogram. And I'll just find that in the list real quick. And I'll explain to you what that is too. So I haven't used it though, so let me go ahead and find it real quick. The PS MACD histogram. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and plot this in the same inner window. Okay, and I'm going to merge it with the scale on the right. Now, this is designed to be displayed as a histogram, and I'm sure you've seen the MACD this way. Okay, if you've wondered what this is, well, this histogram that they kind of display at the bottom is simply the difference between this line and this line. So you'll notice, like when we cross down below 0 here, or when we cross down below our signal line, it goes down below 0. You're just looking at the difference between MACD and its signal line, and that's it. So you can use it if you want to. I kind of like to have the 3 lines on the chart when I'm looking at MACD, but that's all it is. You're just looking at another way to look at the difference between the blue line and the red line on here. Okay, so to simplify things, I am going to take that off of the chart just so that we're not kind of confusing the issue. And we're going to talk about the difference between the MACD and its signal line and kind of how there's basically 3 ways. I'm going to kind of talk about how you can use MACD. There's all kinds of ways you can use, but there's 3 ways that Gerald Appel actually talked about. So the first is looking at as a signal. If it's down, if MACD crosses down below its signal line, like it does, let's say right about here or right about here maybe, then you're going to say that the MACD is in a bearish state. Okay, and I did just draw a line here. It's a little bit light up here. I'm not sure why that's happening. Maybe just because I'm sharing the video. But right here is where it crossed down below its MACD. At that point, you're going to say that the MACD is in a bearish state. Okay, over here, where it crosses up above its signal line like it did right here, the MACD is going to go into a bullish state. Okay. Michael says the MetaStock software is great, lots of features, charting, indicators. Thank you for using MetaStock, Michael. Appreciate it. I've tested a few of the add-ons, and some are very reliable. Scott says, thanks for doing this webinar and teaching us some new things. I hope you learned something. If I teach you something new today, Scott, I'll be proud. Okay. Let's see. All right. I'm going to add just to kind of help me. So the first way that we're kind of talking about the MACD today is with the signal line. So if it's in a bullish state, we anticipate, in this case, that Disney's going to go up because the MACD is in a bullish state. And in that case, we could use that as a signal to get into the market. I'm going to go ahead and attach what we call an expert advisor to this chart. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to find MACD by MetaStock. I'm going to attach it to the chart. And what you'll see is a few things are going to happen. I'm going to point them all out to you. Right now, actually, I didn't know that this was going to happen, but this is an example of kind of our commentary alert. We just actually crossed down below our signal line today. So if we run in a scan, we just got a sell signal on the MACD for Disney today. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK so that that goes away. You'll notice down here at the bottom, you've got this ribbon that says that whether you're or not you're in your bullish state or your bearish state with the MACD. And again, that just means is the MACD above or below its signal line. Okay, so down right here, it went down below its signal line. We were bearish for this state of time. We went bullish right here. And then we just today went bearish again on the signal line. Okay, so that's the first one. Again, this is a very objective way to look at the chart. Here we crossed up above our signal line. This was back in November, okay, November 5th. Had a great run on Disney, and then we were long basically until January 4th, and it's kind of bounced around a little bit here. So the first way to look at MACD is where are we at in relationship to our signal line. Okay. The second way to look at MACD is you can use it as a momentum type of an indicator. Have we stretched too far? Momentum, the idea behind momentum is, you know, you're looking kind of for a reversion to the mean strategy. And what I'm going to do just to kind of help me illustrate this is I'm going to go ahead and open up our expert commentary right here. Okay. When I do that, let's just go ahead and zoom in on the chart a little bit so you can see this. Right here, there's a little bit of a triangle that just points straight down. Okay. I'm going to move it off that bar real quick. Okay. See the triangle? That's what I'm talking about, this triangle right here. Okay. So since today we had that MACD sell signal, it's going to basically, the first thing it's going to say is currently the MACD is bearish since it's trading below its signal line. Oh, and it just crossed below its signal line 0 bars ago. Okay. Right now, the price has not changed because it just crossed down below its signal line. Okay. The other thing that it'll look for is you're looking for, right now, it's going to be looking for whether or not you're in an overbought, oversold range. You're not right here. Then it's just going to say that. If I wanted to find a point of time where we're in an overbought, oversold range, I can look for a highlighted bar right here. If you notice, the bar is red right here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move that triangle that talks about, and we're going to talk about this day instead. And right here, it's going to say the MACD is in an overbought range. Now, it wants I like the way it kind of words this. It's going to say, because you know how trends can kind of work. just because something's overbought doesn't mean it's going to revert to the mean right away, right? So the way that they worded this, I thought was really good. It's going to say the MACD is in an overbought range. Prices may continue to move higher for some time. Wait for prices to move lower before considering any short positions. So it's basically saying, okay, well, we've moved quite far here, quite fast. Our momentum looks is crazy. So we might be looking at an overbought, oversold. Don't trade on this. Make sure to confirm that by maybe the price starts to move down. But hey, maybe move your stop up or something along those lines. And if you notice, just as a cautionary tale, right here, we were giving the same overbought, oversold readings. Just at $144, the price of the stock continued to rise. The price of Disney continued to go up all the way up to 173. So that's why you kind of want to wait till it's confirmed instead of just trading based on the fact that it's overbought, oversold. And then the third thing that it looks at for right here is divergence. And it says there's been no divergence within the last 5 days. We're looking at these 5 days right here. But one of the divergence is kind of a fairly powerful tool. In fact, one of the people that I work with quite a bit, he's going to come do a webinar. I think we set it in sometime in June. Is Dr. Alexander Elder, and he wrote a book called "Come Into My Trading Room." But he calls, and he's great, one of the best technicians out there. But one of the things that he calls MACD divergence is he calls it the most powerful signal in all of technical analysis. And the way that you would read it, let's see if I can find a good example. This would be a good example if it crossed below 0, but it didn't. Alex wants it to cross down below 0, and then you could measure from this peak to this peak. But since it didn't go down below 0, the last peak to peak we could measure is from right here to right here. So if I was just to draw a line between this peak here and this peak here, that's basically going to kind of give us a line between these two peaks. If I was going to look at the price activity between those two peaks right here to right here, you'll notice that those kind of run in conjunction with each other. So there's no divergence there. If we had something that looked a little bit more like this, where price was going up still, but it wasn't being supported by MACD. In other words, if we had a new price with a lower MACD, kind of like what almost happened right here, a new high price that wasn't supported by a higher MACD, that's what Dr. Alexander Elder would call the most powerful signal in all of technical analysis. He would say that this was a bearish divergence. It was time to look to get out of that stock. So in this particular case, they're both going the same way. We don't have that divergence, but that's the third way that we look at MACD. Okay, so to recap real quick, you're looking for the crossover. That's this crossover of MACD and its signal line. You can look at it to use it for an overbought, oversold oscillator, and you can look at it as divergence. Now, and I think that's a pretty good, again, the reason I kind of talk about MACD is it's very popular. It was the time that we kind of created this, it was our most popular YouTube video. Right now, our most popular video is like Steve Bigelow, and he's insanely popular with our YouTube grad. But there's a few things that I really like about technical analysis. And so they are, one, you notice that we've never talked about what we thought Corona stimulus package number 3 or number 2 or number 1 would have as effect on Disney, right? You notice that we never talked about whether, Disney Plus and the insane subscriptions that they're having is going to have an impact on Disney. Notice that we never talked about the coronavirus and kind of the fact that that they had to close down their parks. We never talked about what that was going to do on Disney. What we're looking at is we're looking at the price activity. Is it trending up? Is it trending down? And we're making decisions based on the price activity. And the thing that makes it objective. In other words, if I did a halfway decent job of explaining to you why we're getting a bullish signal here and a bearish signal here, you can understand why that's happening on the chart. You can go in and very, very easily paint where that's going to happen on the chart. You can look and say, okay, well, was this trade profitable? Yeah, it was. Was this one? Yeah, probably. Was this one? Yeah, probably. Was this one? Maybe not so much. But you can get a very, very good idea of how that would have reacted without trying to make guesses, and kind of you have a game plan to go into the stock. Now, is MACD the best system to trade on Disney? Maybe, maybe not. You know, we have 300 different indicators in MetaStock. And one of the kind of mistakes that I would make as a new sales guy for MetaStock when I was brand new is talking about all of the indicators and the functionality that exist in MetaStock. At no point would I recommend that you learn about all 300 different indicators in the software. I could probably explain a lot of them to you, just if you asked me, but I've been doing this for about 25 years, and there's indicators that I'd still have to look at the help manual for. So is this a good way? Is this MACD a good indicator? Yeah, it's a good indicator. Is it the best one we should be learning about right now? Does it work best for Disney? Is it the one we should be trading? Well, that's a question that we use that we can answer with one of our MetaStock PowerTools, the system tester, that will allow us to go in and say, well, how does this compare to some of the other systems that are in MetaStock? So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to really quick check over here and look at some of these other questions. Michael says, Jeff, Forecaster and Candlesticks are built-in solutions available in Explorer, but where are the indicators, i.e., I want to select the indicators to add to the chart? That's actually not a bad thought, Michael. Most of them are somewhat explainable, but it might not be a bad. Actually, that's a really good suggestion. I'm going to see about maybe adding some pre-built templates. There aren't templates that exactly match the built-in forecaster events. That's a really good suggestion, Michael. I've never heard it before, so good job. Question 2. I heard MetaStock is working on a major version update. Is this correct? Well, yeah. I mean, we've got a team of programmers. Most of them are working from home because we're kind of still on an A/B schedule, but they're always working on a new version of MetaStock. And we'll tell you about it when we get there. So, in any case. Michael said it would be great to use a software as a service version of MetaStock so that the intensive processing can be done on the server side. That's not a bad idea too. Do you have a scanner to find MACD RSI Bollinger Band divergence? So there is one of the things. That's a really good question, Ravi, and I think it goes a little bit deeper than I want to get. There is a MACD divergence scan that you can run right in MetaStock. If you're looking for RSI divergence and Bollinger Band divergence and stuff like that, that you want to be able to write, there's actually, you can write any scan that you want. There's a function in MetaStock that's called divergence. And you say, I want divergence between this indicator and this indicator. There are basically two data arrays. So like you could say, I want divergence between this indicator, and I want to be diverge this %, if I remember offhand, and you can just write it fairly easily. If you want help with that, you can hire a programming team and they can write it for you. It's a very simple function to use. If you're familiar with the MetaStock formula language, you should be able to write it. But if you need help, you can have our support team write anything for you for like $30. They can write a divergence scan for you using that function pretty easily. So there you go. Good question. Thank you. And it also allows me to talk about how flexible the program is. So yeah, thank you for the question. In any case, let's kind of get back to where we're at. And that's kind of dumping into the system tester. And again, one of the things that I think is handy about the system, one of the things I love about technical analysis is really how digital things are. I like to make trading decisions that are objective and not subjective, right? And so if I was looking to trade on Disney or any collection of stocks, what I'd want to understand is how well any particular trading methodology worked against Disney. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in here, and we call this the Power Console MetaStock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to the system tester, okay? And what I've actually done is made a list of a lot of, actually this isn't my list, somebody actually turn my list up a little bit. But in MetaStock, there's roughly about 45 systems that that are available that don't do optimization or when you optimize variables and test rather quickly. Looks like somebody took all the performance systems and made a favorites list here. And we can just do this because, again, the idea here is for me to give you kind of an idea of how the tool works. In MetaStock, we do have one of the most robust system testers that I'm aware of. And I like the fact that we can take 27 different methodologies and test it against as many stocks as you want. So if I wanted to test against like the S&P 500 or all of the optionable stocks or the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ or anything I wanted to, if I wanted to run a big, huge system test, I could. Now, I'm not going to just because it takes a little bit of time. I'm going to actually choose Disney because that's what we're looking in here. We do have a MACD system in here, right? Yeah, we do. But I do want to get a few extras in here. So I usually have a list of just the favorites, but I'm going to select a few here manually, the ones that I know that are built into MetaStock. So let's do this here. There's Darvis Box. Greg's Golden Cross System Test. That one, Greg did a really good webinar like a week or two ago on moving averages. If you're new to moving averages, you might want to take a look at that one. So, but what I really wanted to do is wanted to get that MACD expert system here. Okay, and we'll also do momentum indicators expert system. So we're gonna go ahead and do Disney. Oh, I meant to ask if you guys have stocks that you want me to kind of throw into this system test. Hurry and type them. You got seconds. We're gonna start this in a second. So in the meantime, we'll do Disney, do Google. And you notice I can type in just any of the symbols that I want, and I separate them by a comma, and I can add just a few of them or a bunch of them. If I wanted to do a whole list of all the optionable stocks, I could just select it down here. I don't want to, mostly because of time. So let's see, we will do UNP because that's a stock that I just looked at. FB, okay, that's fine. I think you guys get the idea. Okay, so what I'm going to do real quick here, just to kind of sum up, is we're going to have the MetaStock do a system test of all these 27 systems, and plus a bunch more that I actually selected down here. We're going to have it do Disney, Google, Apple, Union Pacific, Facebook. And what we're going to do is we're going to have it do long trades and short trades. So every time it gets basically a buy or sell signal that's generated on one of these methodologies, it's going to take it. Okay. We're going to have it go back about, well, let's have it go back about 3 years of data. So 750 records. Okay. And I'm going to have it trade based on a daily interval. Okay, so it's going to look to get the signals off of the daily chart. Of course, you can change it to whatever time frame that you want. If you have MetaStock real time, you can do any intraday interval. And if you have what we call our daily chart version, you can do like daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, under trade options, just so to kind of give us an idea of how this is set up. This isn't my machine. I'm going to come over here to my account. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it start. What number is that? Yeah, let's start with. Let's have it start with 10,000 hypothetical dollars, okay? And the way I can have it trade, there's a couple of different options. I could say, okay, every time you get a buy signal, buy 20 shares, okay? That'd be number of units, 20, okay? I could say every time you get a buy signal, buy $200 worth. And that's how you would put that together, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna have it trade based on the percentage of available equity. So every time it gets a buy signal, it's gonna look at the account value, the amount of money that it has to spend, and it's going to say, okay, I'm going to trade half. So if we're looking at Disney and we get a buy signal, it'll and it's our first trade, it'll trade $5,000, half of $10,000. If it grows that account to 30,000, it's going to be trading half of that. You can set these to whatever you want them to be, but this is just what I'm going to do for the purposes of the demo. Okay, over here, if you still pay commissions to a broker, you can put them in right here. You can also put in interest rates and margin requirements and that kind of stuff. I'm going to come over here to trading execution, where I could add slippage. I could penalize the trades based on the fact on slippage, based on either percentage or points. Okay, I'm I'm going to leave this checked as realistic market prices. I'm going to explain what that means. So realistic market prices, if we're looking at, let's say we were hypothetically looking at Disney today, and there was a sell signal on the bar today, okay? And let's just pretend there is a sell signal on the bar today, but let's pretend that that sell signal existed before lunch, okay? And so we went to lunch, we come back, and Disney, for some reason, just shot up. Okay, and so the close price went way up. Instead of having the sell signal, that sell signal would disappear. It wouldn't have existed on the daily chart. And so what we do with realistic market prices is we wait till the close of the bar to verify that the sell signal was still indeed there at the end of the day. Okay, since it waits till the end of the bar, it's going to execute on the open of the next trading day. Okay, and that's what we call realistic market prices, because you can't technically trade on a closed bar. You have to trade on the open bar, right? So it would buy at the open of the next day. And in other words, it would assume. And if you're doing hourly, it's the same thing. It's just the beginning of the next hour. Okay, you can change that. You can say, oh, well, I'm just going to check them at Disney, and if I have a sell signal in the last 15 minutes of the day, I'm going to get out of it. And you could change that if that's how you're trading. You would just take this realistic out here and say, I'm going to buy on the close. I'm going to have you delay 0 bars. I'm going to have you buy on the close. I'll sell on the close. I'll go short on the close. And that's basically how you would kind of set it up for that. I'm going to leave it at realistic market prices, but that's all that means. Okay. You go ahead and click on OK. I think that I did a fairly decent job of explaining that. We'll go ahead and run our system test. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stocks here. Okay, we're going to run about 1,300 simulations right now. So, and you'll just be able to see them here. It's going to kind of chunk through them real quick. While that happens, you'll notice it's going fairly quickly. We'll look at, see if there's any questions. Oh, Scott says LPX. I should have looked a second ago, Scott. Sorry. Okay. Okay. All right. Looks like we're caught up on questions. So, let's do not display this warning again, and we'll have it keep chunking through. All right. Okay. I'm trying to think of something important to say. Okay. I'll just recap what we're doing. So it's going to run through. It's about halfway done. It's running through. Right now, it's running a methodology called the classic moving average penetration strategy. It's basically it's grabbing 3 years of data. Every time it gets a buy or a sell signal, it's going to execute based on that. You'll notice that it's about 78% done. So we've done about 1,100 out of 1,295. I would interject with another dad joke here, but I'll spare you because we're almost there. The thing I love about the system tester, just to kind of reiterate it a little bit, is I've seen a lot of system testers out there that allow you to take as many trading methodologies as you want and test them against one stock at a time. But the ability to go in and kind of do a whole basket test of 5 or 6 stocks is pretty unique to MetaStock. And so now it's done. I can quit stalling, and we can kind of take a look at the results. So right here, out of the tests that we've actually done, they're all numbered here. I can tell you exactly how many we ran. Of 45 different systems. Okay, out of those 45 different systems, each of one of them were either profitable or not profitable, and that's dictated by whether it's a green bar or a red bar. Now, obviously, kind of like we want to be able to focus on stocks that are profitable for the instruments that we're interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and sort this based on the average net profit, and because we did a basket of like 5 stocks, we see right now we're seeing average net profit, average percent gain, best profit, worst profit, average number of trades, average trade profit versus loss, average profit versus average loss as a number. So by sorting them that way, I can kind of see what's profitable. We want to kind of pay attention to the ones that work for the stocks that we're interested in. And over the last, we did 3 years, the Fractal trading system number 2, I figured it would be 2. 2 always is coming up in these system tests. Had an average profit of 37.75. Its best performing system was 86.66.59. Its worst performing was 16.01.97. On average, it traded about 19 times. So, and that's over the 3-year period, and that's per stock. So basically 19 into 3 would be 6 and some change. 6 times 3 is 18. So about 6 trades a year, about a trade every other month or so. Okay. Our average profit versus our average loss is 2.73. So I want to find something that works well. Okay. In this particular case, if like pattern trading system number 1 had come up top, it's trading 100 times. I don't really want to trade, even though that's only 33 trades per year, still a lot of trades per year, right? I'd rather be trading 19 times per year. It's just, it fits into more kind of the time I have devoted to trading. So if I wanted to kind of drill into one of these systems, I kind of can look at kind of the average numbers and see what's important here. I want to kind of look into the systems a little bit more closely. I can click on View, and then we have Apple, Union Pacific, Facebook, Alphabet, and Walt Disney. I can kind of scan these over by net profit. Apple would have been our best performing stock. We tested 5/14, 2018 to 5/5, 2021, so about 3 years, 750 bars. In that time period, in that 3 years, we would have had an 86% gain, 13 trades, 10 of those were correct, and correct is maybe 10 of those made money, 3 of them didn't make money. Correct and incorrect, maybe the wrong word to use. Our average dollar versus our average loss at $4.73 for every dollar lost, we gained $4.73. So that's really good. And you can kind of see the results for this as well. If we really wanted to trade Disney, I could actually just choose Walt Disney here. I could click on View. No, oops, back, wrong button. Uh-oh, go back. Okay, good. Okay. And where am I exactly on this? Okay, let's go back into View. I kind of got myself a little bit lost. That was my fault, not yours. I wanted to just see how different systems had performed on like Disney, for example. I can click on View right here. Now, I clicked the wrong button again. You can see this is something I normally do. Let's go ahead and click on View. Walt Disney. Oh, View all results. It's over here. Okay. And then I could just see how the different systems had performed with just Walt Disney. That was not something I normally show. So that's why I kind of got a little messy there. So let me go ahead and click on Apple here. We'll go back. Okay. View got a little bit messed up here. We'll go ahead and click on Apple right here, which is our best performing system. And I'm going to be able to see a complete report here. So we'll only go like high level. I've got about, well, I can go as long as I want, but I got 13 minutes scheduled to go. So we'll kind of go a little bit faster. But the things that I like to look at are performance. We did, with a stock like Apple, our annualized performance, if we would have just bought and held, was about 29%. Or no, our trading performance was 29%. Our buy and hold was 28.5%. So we did outperform buy and hold, if only by 2%. Okay. Again, here we had 13 trades. 10 of those were winning trades, and 3 of them were losing trades. The system only goes long. So all of those trades were long, whether they were profitable or not profitable. Okay. Our average profit, so every time we had a winning trade, on average, it was $925.35. Our highest was $3,219, and our lowest profitable trade was $7,373. Okay. Our average loss, so every time we lost, we had 3 losing trades. So our average was $195. Our big loser was 315. Our lowest loser, our smallest loser was 76. Kind of get an idea. Our average profit versus our average loss. It's very, very good on this. Okay. Down here, there's some other things that we look at. Typically, what I like to see is how many losing trades I have in a row. Okay. In this particular case, we only lost 1 time in a row. Okay. I also like to see what our profit loss index. So profit loss, it measures profit versus loss. It's a scale that goes to plus 100 to minus 100. 93.66 is very, very good, as you might imagine. Risk reward index measures open position maximum reward versus maximum position loss. So not how much money you lost on a trade, but how much you were down when that trade was at its worst. Not how much money you closed the position at, but how much you were up when it was up at its best. It also goes from plus 100 to minus 100. 98.15 is very good. Okay. There's some other things that are in here. We're not going to cover them all. But again, our help system, I might have mentioned earlier, is massive. You can click on help. It'll spell any of this stuff out for you. It does a very, very good job of doing it. The thing I like to see, though, is equity. So this kind of gives us a good idea of how this performed. We're chartists. We want to see this kind of plotted out. So I'm going to go ahead and just look at the equity right here. This basically gives us a good idea of like how often what our equity curve would have looked like. Okay. It also gives us an idea for frequency as well. So if I'm looking at an equity, let me explain a little bit more what I mean here. If I'm looking at an equity curve that's moving, whether it's up or down, you're in a position. If it's flat right here, like it was right here, or here, or here, or here, you're not in a position. Okay. So it's a measure, like how much money you make is one measurement. Efficiency is how much money you make while you're in the marketplace. And so if there's big, long periods of flat bars here, that means you weren't in a trade on Apple, which means one of two things. You could have been in a different trade with that money, or if you just put it back in cash, you weren't risking your money at that time. So it's kind of like Price Headley, another person that we do a lot of events with, talks about the concept of efficiency, about how fast, he talks about it in terms of like a freeway. Like if I leave right now to go home, it's 3:21 here. I'll probably fly home. It's about a 20-something minute commute when it's not busy, right? If I wait till 5 and I drive home, well, the traffic around this Wasatch Front area in Utah is really exploding because the population is exploding here. And it might take me a good old-fashioned hour to get that 21-minute distance. So generally things that are more efficient are more enjoyable. But when it turns out when you're talking about your own account in the marketplace, these flat areas are awesome because you still are up. You still outperform buy and hold by 2% in the case of Apple, which has been going up. But in addition to that, there's big parts of times where at minimum, if you weren't trading something else, you weren't risking money either. Okay, so hopefully that is a concept that makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and throw this on a chart right here. And then I'll go ahead and close this out. And this just opens up Apple for me. This is that same equity line that we were looking at just a second ago, but with the exact buy and sell points and kind of what our equity looked like over time as well. Michael says, thumbs up for easy to install, easy to use software. I'm glad you like it. Michael, thank you for using MetaStock. And Scott says, I think the Logan Connor systems do well for what they're intended to find. Scott actually sent me a message that I should do a class on the LCI and include it in like one of my classes that I do. And I think it's a good idea. So watch for that. Not promising it, but you can watch for it. The name of the system that kind of generated this equity graph on Apple was called the PS Fractal Trading System 2. And the next thing that I would recommend that you do, if you like this methodology, you've looked at where it's buying into the chart, where it's selling out of the chart, and you want to kind of learn more about it, so I'd recommend you learn about it. Okay. Again, I always caution people to use system testing as something that shortcuts your learning process, not eliminates it. So I want you to understand what you're trading. At the very front of the webinar, we talked about how discipline in trading is a good idea, right? So if you wanted to learn a little bit more about this fractal trading system number 2, you can attach a matching expert advisor. I'm going to go to that. It's going to be Fractal Trading System 2. I'm just going to attach it to the chart, click on close. And when I do, it's going to say there's no trading signals today. See? Right here. We did get out of this today, but that's just because the system tester will close any bar. Okay. Now, what we're seeing here is even though there aren't any trading signals, I can make this a little bigger for you so you can read along with me. And that reminds me of those turn the page books. You'll know it's, never mind. Well, there are many definitions for a fractal in securities trading. The definition used in these systems is based on Bill Williams, PhD, and his chaos-based trading methods. According to Bill Williams, an up fractal is designed as a middle bar with 2 lower highs on each side of it. Okay, a down fractal would be the reverse, a middle bar with 2 higher lows. Some people call those a pivot high and a pivot low. It's the same pattern. A high, 2 lower highs. A low, 2 higher lows would be a down fractal. Okay, this system is based on a small fraction of Bill's system. It enters a long position when prices cross above the most recent up fractal. The position would be exited upon crossing the low of the second most recent fractal back. Okay, and so if we come over here to where one of our long signals would be, okay, it will tell you, and it'll give you some advice here. With this one, it just says, okay, you got a signal. Enter long today on a market on close order or at the market price on tomorrow's open. Okay, so again, the idea here is we first want to learn about what works. And I like to, for me, I want to be able to focus on what works. I don't really care about 300 indicators if they're not helpful for me. I want to be able to focus on the 2 or 3 that work well. And so this is kind of what that process allows us to do. I think we have enough time because we're going to go just a minute or 2 over, but to talk about the other power tool. If you find this as a system that you like, this fractal trading system number 2, well, right now, if we're in Apple, we don't have a particularly a long position to take today. We don't have an exit to take today. There's not actually telling you to get out today. This exit, again, was drawn by the system tester. So if I wanted to find, if I'd learned about this and I wanted to be able to find opportunities that exist in the marketplace, well, we have a tool that allows you to do that too. If I come into the Power Console again, right here, we've got the scanner. Okay, what we call it an Explorer. Somebody asked me just a couple months ago, why do you call it the Explorer? Like, I don't know. That's what we've always called it. And then I hypothesized that maybe Steve Achelis really liked Indiana Jones, and that's why I named it the Explorer. I don't know, but it's our scanner. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, there's tons and tons of different scans that you can run. I'm going to find the one that's called PS Fractal Systems number 2, which is this one here, the one that we had tested just a minute ago and worked really good. Let's find it. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and I didn't update the local data on here, but we'll just go in here and I can scan anything that I want to. One of the things we love about the Reuters data is if you're watching from the US and you trade US instruments, you can use it. If you're Scott, I don't know if Scott, I think Scott trades mostly US instruments, but he could look at Canadian instruments if he wants to. If you can use it on India, we have a lot of Indian customers that use MetaStock. We have a lot of people in Australia. We cover, like, just look at this number, 296,000 instruments. So one of the things that I think our programmers did a really good job of is actually kind of organizing these. It's a list that we update on a very regular basis, but instead I can very, very easily find something in North America. I just expand the North America list. If I want to scan ETS, there's a list for it. If I want to scan anything that's optionable, there's a list for it. They've done a very, very good job. But in this case, I want to go into index constituents. I'm not going to scan a huge list, and I probably won't even wait for it to finish, but I'm going to have it scan the S&P 500 on the current day and time. And I'm going to have it say what stocks had a buy signal on the PS Fractal system. So if I like this fractal system, if this is something that I'm trading with, right now it's looked at 132 charts that I don't have to look at. I have to look at 97% of that. I can ignore all of the stocks that don't have an opportunity and focus on the ones that are important to me. And like I think it was Ravi that was saying in the chat earlier, you can't customize these scans. You can make them do anything you want to, whether you're looking for like a divergence on MACD plus RSI plus Bollinger Band, whatever you want. It's actually fairly easy to create. And that ability for us to help you write something for $30. When was the last time you hired a programmer for $30? They do it. They do a good job of it, and it's a really good resource for you. So out of those 500 stocks, We've got 13 that had a fractal buy system today. We could go look at Caterpillar, Eli Lilly, Halliburton, T-Mobile. All of those had actual buy signals on today's bar based on the fractal trading system. And so now, instead of looking at 500 stocks, you're looking at 13. You're going to pick the best ones that you want to be able to look at, and generally it's up to you, but I like personally to look at names that I know. So I'd be looking at Caterpillar and Halliburton and T-Mobile and that kind of stuff if I was looking at it. So one of the things I kind of heard recently in one of the sessions that we do is somebody was talking about trading wide, and the point that they were trying to make is don't put all of your money into one trade. You know what I mean? You're going to lose trades. The important thing is to kind of have an account left when you lose a trade, right? So they were talking about trading wide, and I was like, that's exactly what I do. That's a good idea. I like the way you kind of framed it, trade wide. In any case, again, actually, I think it's 28 years in a row that it's been rated the best software in its price category. It's an awesome software. We didn't talk a lot about the forecaster today, but system tester and scanning and the expert advisor, I think we covered enough. The forecaster is awesome, and we do our own class. We can do a class about that at a different time. With MetaStock, we have 2 different versions that are available. We have our real-time version that's basically $250 per month. That includes the MetaStock program, which I've been showing you all day. It also includes a program that's from Refinitiv we call it Zenith. They spent over $1 billion on it. It has what is arguably one of the best news and data platforms available. The numbers are pretty incredible on it. They spent $1 billion on it. They have I think it's 2,000 or 3,000. I think it's 2,000 full-time reporters in 200 different news bureaus around the country, or around the world. Covers over 200 global exchanges. One of the most well-respected providers of data and news. That's included. So you get that. You get MetaStock. All as part of that. The only thing you won't get is the exchange fees, and some exchanges charge fees to get real-time data. In fact, most of them do. Not a lot of them are very much. Like NASDAQ is like $350. New York Stock Exchange, I believe, is about $352. But there are some additional exchange fees that you pay, and they can be more expensive if you're doing futures. For some reason, the exchanges charge a lot more for futures data. We also have an end-of-day version. So the difference between MetaStock RT stands for real-time. MetaStock DC stands for daily charts. It's only $69 per month. And that would also include the data that you need. It doesn't include the Zenith package, but it does include all the data that you need to do any of the scanning and the testing and that kind of stuff that you want. Hello, Paul says, is there a template for a moving average crossover, like for MACD? Or moving average crossover? Oh, well, I don't, there is one for MACD, I believe, that's built in, Paul, but you can actually add any indicators that you want. Like if you want to do a moving average, just add the indicators to a chart, make it look exactly the way you want, and you can just save it as a template. I'm not sure if there's a built-in one for that, but this is a good question. And if you do want to know, just ask Sales Chat. We have a team of really, really cool guys that will answer any questions, and I always get really good feedback on them, and they do a great job. So they really do. It's an easy team to manage for sure. So our end-of-day version of the MetaStock program with North American data, so that would be US and Canada, would be $69. If you're international, like you're interested in Europe, Middle East, and Africa, it's only $59 per month. What we're going to do here is we're going to allow you to try out like again, it's been rated #1 28 years in a row. What we're going to do is we're going to do a buy one, get 2 free. So we call it an extended trial. If you pay for 1 month, we'll give you the 2nd and 3rd month for free as part of it. That'll include MetaStock, the latest version. This should say 17. It doesn't. It'll include data, everything you need to pretty much run it. If you're brand new to MetaStock, we'll actually have somebody give you a call, walk you through the main power tools. We'll open up a training CD because it is a tool box, right? It's a huge collection of tools that we've been developing since the 1980s. And I always like to talk about, it's been rated #1 for a reason. over the years, we've seen a lot of programs come and go. Some of them just did moving averages, and that was about it. The thing that I was always proud about MetaStock is not only was it very, very highly rated, it was also a program that I thought people could buy into and that they'd never really outgrow it. In other words, as much as they grew, MetaStock would grow with them, and they wouldn't have to be learning a new software program 3 or 4 or 6 months down the road. And I still think that that's true today with all of the changes and updates that we've made in the last several years as it ever has been. So the other thing I'll say real quick is it's $69 for 3 months if you want to try the end of day version of the software. It's about $20-something per month. So for $20 per month, you can run the highest rated software program that's been rated #1 for the last 28 years in a row. And you'll be running it for 3 months. And by the end of that 3 months, you'll know whether it's helpful for you or not. And if it's helpful for you, well, then welcome to MetaStock. I'm glad you picked it up. So give us a call. If you have questions that I didn't cover, or if you want to get some more information, or if you want to get signed up, 800-882-3040. You can chat online with us at metastock.com/saleschat. And you can also go to metastock.com/P220. Okay, there you go. All right. I want to say thank you for coming, everybody. Good to see everybody here. Hope that was helpful for you. Scott, I hope you did learn something, because if you did, I don't know what it was. It's good to see at all of the webinars that we do, though. And I hope to see everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe. We'll see you at the next one.